Hello, Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Welcome to a very special edition of the Classics Show. Here today, I am your host, Shabnam Riaz. Well, today we, have a really exciting program that we're going to talk about. It's very interesting. It is the need of the hour. And we've sort of changed our situation. What happened is we had a discussion on the book Emotional Intelligence and why it can matter more than IQ. And that's, of course, a very famous book by Daniel Goleman. While we were having this discussion, we talked about other things, how EQ, emotional quotient, can affect your life and why we need emotional intelligence. While we were talking, we then spoke about drug abuse and substance abuse and how that is linked to emotional intelligence when we are not able to manage our emotions. So that is the program that we're going to do today, and we have, we're very happy to have with us our panel of experts who are all, dealing in different ways to tackle this menace, because that's exactly what it is. It's a menace to the society. It's a menace to anyone all over the world. I'm going to introduce first my guest, Mrs. Cristina Afridi. She's the chairperson of KKAWF. Thank you for joining us. Seated next to Cristina is Brigadier Mubashir Kazmi, who's the commander of ANF North Region, working on drug reduction and international cooperation. Thank you for joining us. And we have Mr. Farman Ali, who's the managing director of Psych Aid Islamabad. Thank you for being here. On my left, Mr. Asif Rasool, who's a communication and strategist expert. Thank you very much, Asif Saab. And Dr. Sadia, CEO of Wapsi Rehab. Thank you very much, Dr. Sadia, for joining us. And, as I told you, the topic today stemmed from emotional intelligence. And while we were talking about it, we were talking about drug abuse as well. Now, to, give you an insight as to emotional intelligence, let's have a look at this report.
Everyone knows that high IQ is no guarantee of success, happiness or virtue. But until emotional intelligence, we could only guess why. Daniel Goleman's brilliant report from the frontiers of psychology and neuroscience offers startling new insight into our two minds, the rational and the emotional, and how they took destiny. Emotional intelligence is essentially the way you perceive, understand, express, and manage emotions. And it's important because the more you understand these aspects of yourself, the better your mental health and social behavior will be. Improved emotional intelligence can be very useful in all sorts of circumstances. Work, at home, in school, or even when you're just socializing with your friends.
Okay, and that was a report, sort of a brief intro into emotional intelligence, what it means and why you should be an emotionally intelligent person. As we told you, we linked this up, we found out research on drug abuse as well. There is a connection. So let's have a look at this report on drug abuse.
The specifics of every person's addiction journey are different. But for most people, the path to recovery follows a similar trajectory, a bottom followed by the decision to take action. The initial, often traumatic physical and mental adjustment to life without the substance. The gradual establishment of a normal new. And somewhere in there, work on the difficulties that led to addiction in the first place, helping them feel stronger than ever before. Remember, everyone's different. Just be honest with yourself about how you're doing and use all the recovery tools you find helpful. Never be afraid to reach out for help. Maybe taking the first step towards recovery is actually the best thing you can do for yourself and your friends. If your group of friends is really into yoga or eating sushi, then there's a pretty good chance you know the difference between Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 and can eat with chopsticks like a true boss. Rule also applies if your friends are really into drugs or drinking. It's better to use with someone than to use alone, right? After all, misery loves company. It's easy to justify bad behavior when you're not the only person doing it, which is why friends struggling with addiction can actually make the problem worse for each other. Are your friends keeping you company or enabling your substance abuse and addictive behaviors?
Okay, we hope that was very insightful for you, definitely was for us. I'm going to start the discussion right now, and I'm going to turn to Cristina, and I'm going to ask you, Cristina, as we saw on that video, reaching out for help. How hard is it And how can we make it easier?
Yeah, it is, actually, intelligence emotion is, we utilize this in our not discussions, but our presentations, our interaction with the students. In fact, I just have here this helping youth to identify, understand, and manage emotions.
And that's so
that
important.
That is the main, when you start to debate or to find out how can you reach a solution or to avoid or for prevention, you have to start from here. Because we have not, we cannot forget, all of us that had passed through that, our times during the teenager times. I tell the students and the youth, it's the worst period of one's life. You feel insecure. You don't know physically how you're going to end up. You have so many problems. Teenagers are already feeling. Why? Because hormones are playing havoc inside you. So the moment that you identify that why you're reacting that form, that sometimes you don't know that you are kicking the door or you are shouting to someone, and you get surprised yourself, why I'm doing this, is the hormones playing havoc inside you.
And many
so the
times,
moment, yes,
sorry to interrupt you, and many times when our issues are not resolved in teenage, we carry them forward.
Oh yes.
For the rest of our
lives.
lives.
That's the time of making and breaking. That we are concentrate on that pre-teens and teens till 19. This is our really focus, because that's the moment that everything can go wrong or everything can go right. So it's a moment that you have to guide. It's like a tree. You know, the winds can come and break that tree, but if you put a support there and you hold it together, so then you will see it grow.
Explained fantastically. That is so true. Tell us a bit about your work and what you're doing.
Well, KKWF started to exist after I lost my only child, Karim Khan. 19 years old, just graduated, and just went for a football match in some friend's house to watch the World Cup, and a wrong choice for never to come back. He was a good student, but you know, you never know. Like I tell the boys and the girls, you don't know your body actually. Sure. It can be in the first time, the third time, or the fifth time, or can never happen.
Yes, absolutely.
But the risk is all the time there. And why should we do this? The moment that you are, you know, forming your body, why should you throw poison in it? What benefit can get?
Absolutely.
You know, so it is a very, very vast issue that we can be days discussing about, and we talk also about the justifying, and excuse yourself, like I saw there as well. We talk, you can find any kind of excuse to do drugs. My father shouted at me, my mother beat me, but we talk about shared responsibility.
Right.
Because after all, you smoke with your hand, you know, you do it, there is a shared responsibility there. You cannot just put the blame on the situation that you are in it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to understand that you can come out of that.
Absolutely. Brigadier Mubashir, if I could ask you, you know, when we talk about Pakistan, what are the dangers happening right now? And how are we perceiving them? And what are we doing in forms of action?
Let me pick up from where you left during your introduction, emotional intelligence. If I have to put it, human psychology is very complex. And a person's emotions and feelings stem from three main factors. One is the physical development, or the environment in which a person develops itself physically. Second is the cognitive development of that person. That comes, and various factors of the society impact or affect the person's cognitive development. And third, of course, is his genetic heritage. Now, in our society, Pakistan, we come from many races. We speak a language which is an amalgamation of many languages. We inherit many cultures, You know, Pakistan is a great place where fusion of many cultures take place. Central Asia, Persia, Arabia, the historic Indian, and you know, even
so
from
many
the north.
languages, so many ethnicities.
Man is a social animal by itself, and when you grow up, or when the children are growing up, there are many factors which affect those emotions. Unfortunately, we have so many problems to deal with. We are unable to provide the right kind of guidance to our children as they are growing up, and even to create their awareness that what are emotions. In our Urdu culture, there is this concept of ishq and ishq-e-majazi, and you know, muhabbat and pyar. What we see term as ishq is related to emotions. It rests in your subconscious.
Very true.
Now, as a child is developed, this is what Daniel Coleman has also discussed in his book. And first formal, you know, compilation of this particular, but in our knowledge, both written and in our cultural and social knowledge, we know what our emotions are, how those are developed. Unfortunately, we do not have a proper system to guide our children. But fortunately, we have our religion,
right,
which is very strong in creating awareness and controlling a human behavior as we grow, and to conduct ourselves in the society and to carry ourselves worldwide. So we have this great asset of Islam.
right.
Now, over there also, there are good and bad things. The good thing is that we have this very, you know, valuable asset in our national memory and in our character building. The bad thing is that we have unfortunately neglected the religion in its proper sense. So when the religious and social controls over a person fail, then the artificial things come in.
Right.
And that is where the drugs come in.
Right.
And that is where the children, while growing up,
Right.
they resort to, you know, they resort to excessive music, loud music, loud behaviors. They are influenced by foreign
Peer
and
pressure.
Unbridled cultures and leanings.
Peer pressure as well.
Social media has a great influence over them, and that is where the drugs come in. So we'll talk about it, how a person's development is being affected in our modern era by the various information resources which are being bombarded on our youth.
True.
And why and how they are being diverted towards drugs, and how the drugs can then become a grave problem for us. It may not be as big a problem as it is with the West or with some of the developed countries, but this is a problem which is growing, and we need to confront it.
And we need to, exactly.
We'll talk about it.
Exactly. As you said, there's a problem until we talk about it, until we realize it, until we embrace it, and we will not, you know, until we do that, then we will start talking about it. It should be conversation at the family dinner table as well. Yeah. Parents should be concerned, they should connect with their children. Farman Ali Saab, you're the Managing Director of Psych8. Tell us about your work.
Okay, I'm basically a psychologist. I have worked in model addiction treatment and rehab center and in narcotic force for 8 years.
Okay.
And then I started my own facility in the name of Psych8 Islamabad.
Okay.
In Islamabad since 2015.
Right. So when we talk about, you know, let's rewind about 20, 30 years ago. The children growing up in a completely different environment. Now our children are growing up in a totally different environment. Yeah. Maybe at that time they didn't have that much exposure. So now children, you know, is there a different way to approach them, to treat them, to get down to the same level? Tell us about that.
I can relate it from very beginning, the story, that it is a first responsibility of parenting care. What we are missing when we produce kids, we feed them, but we don't know them, their emotions, their feelings in time. our dilemma is to respond them on time. The responsibility of parents is to know, is to monitor, and is to guide him. After that, his personality development go in a right way. After that, when he enters the society, schooling, there should be a proper system in the school, college, about his performance, about his studies, and teachers should know about their intelligence. Either he is slow learning, is a fast learning, either he is having emotional problems.
We need to obsess less about their grades and more about them as a human being. You know, how, you know, because I found that, you know, many times we're more worried with, you know, you got this position last year, why haven't you? So we are putting, pressure on our children as well. We're not letting them evolve as a person though, are we? We're making them into robots, into machines by putting that pressure on them. Is that not true?
Okay, I know that in the presence of the two missings, one is parental and the second is education system. The student, the young automatically will have a wrong way. As I earlier mentioned that flood cannot be stopped but can be managed.
Yeah. Okay.
Our mistake is when flood comes, we stop them.
Right.
This is wrong.
Yeah.
In-time intervention will have good results. While we are talking about the youth drugs abuse, the institution have manpower, infrastructure, and the system. It is their problem. They should own. Because I have a problem. I am the owner of my problem. Exactly. I should have capacity. I should have understanding. But unfortunately, we keep silent that it is not my problem. Because it is his problem.
Exactly. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. There is an ownership problem here.
The number of incidents increasing day by day.
Yeah, but we prefer to ignore them.
If we see 20 years ago, drug was a fun. Now drug is a business.
Oh, that's very true. Another important aspect to come to.
If we talk about the statistics, 6.7, 8 years ago, now this figure either is stable or increased. And 4.2 million.
Since 2000, it's doubled.
Yeah. 4.2 million are regular drug users. There is no single vendor for selling drugs. These youth, they are having some energy.
Right.
They use and they sell.
So what we need to do, actually, the responsibility that lies on us as parent figures or people of authority in schools, educational institutions, or wherever, is that we need to be embracing towards a person who has this problem, rather than look at them and judge them. Exactly. The judging element, I think, is something that really, really makes the user or the victim of drug abuse, it makes them retreat further into their shell. So, if I could ask you, Dr. Sadia, how can we gain confidence of users and people who are vulnerable? How do we help?
Thank you so very much. We have to work, basically, first of all, we have to work with families. Family parental training is very, very, very important. If you work with your child, with your kid, the patient, the person who has no level of interest, he will not see the outside. He will see their home. Okay? He will get from their families as well. The other person is, if we say user and the abuse, who are the abuser? Users, sometimes occasionally they used. They are not basically effective from the drugs. but the abuser who is totally dependent on the drugs, he is totally focused on the time, personality, working, everything is effective by the drugs, which is very focusing and which is very treatable for the patient, for the person.
True.
And the family has to work for it.
Right. So another question as well, you know, it's an open question to everybody. Why would a person who knows about the harmful effects of drugs actually start taking them, if we're talking about the people who have all this information?
Oh, there are so many aspects of it, if you want to know. I mean, there are complexity of society. We have brutal elements from childhood, when you have domestic abuse, you have so many sexual abuse, you have so many kinds of abuse that, I mean, it reflects throughout your life, and you don't know really how to manage. And sometimes drugs is the soothing way. But let's not forget that addiction is a human weakness. Each one has different kind of addiction.
That's very true.
Not specifically
drugs,
but there are many other kinds of addiction. So it's a very, very it's a huge issue.
So it's an escapism, isn't it, a sort? And as we had that conversation before, things that go unresolved during your teenage, I think that plays a huge impact on that as well.
Basically, physical changes are coming. The family don't realize the things. But psychological changes as well, emotionally changes as well, developing in their child. But family ignore. Family feel like that they have their good foods, the environment, good education, all that. They are ignoring their child. That's why the person and the patient comes in.
I don't like to blame parents all the time. No one wants to lose a child.
Yes, true.
But let's basically start from that. I mean, there is neglect. You tend to trust your child.
True.
And you don't know what he's really doing. If he, my son, I mean, he was not a junkie. I mean, he was studying, he was going to the gym, you know, he had a regular life. Now, during the period of time where the parents should really be aware, and each one of us, is that there is the behavior of adolescents, and the one that are utilizing drugs is very similar. So you do not know that if that is a behavior because he's shouting, he's moody, he's locking at the door because he's an adolescent, or he's doing this because he has taken something or start to use something. So it's a very, very, it's a fine line between these two behaviors that one has to now be very much aware. And
so who are the more vulnerable people in society that we need to identify?
This technology, because previously children, they were just exposed to their own environment, and that was quite limited. But now, due to this technology, we have got the concept of this globalization, and you never know. For example, previously it was quite easy for the parents even to properly micromanage the kids. For example, looking at the school, their friends and all that. But now when it comes to technology, they do not have any command on them. They never know what are their ideals, whom they're going to idealize. So look at, like, if I just teach at this university level, so I can just add one thing from my side. I will just start off with this fun part. One is that students have got and youngsters have got genuine issues and problem. I'll start off with this fun part because they right now, whenever we ask them, okay, how do you spend your pastime? So most of them, they say that, you know, these are different, they've got like certain movies and especially seasons. Now when we look at certain movies, certain seasons, and the way people, they're like protagonists, they are going to smoke, they're going to take drug, they're going to eulogize it in such a way.
They're being exposed.
And children are very young, they don't know that they are not stable in this regard. So just take it as a fun. And same with the case, like when they are with their friends, okay, the friends are smoking. So initially it's a fun part. And gradually, whenever they're going to face a problem, they are going to adopt it, and then you cannot stop it. And,
then there's the fear of being left out. Because you don't want to be the single,
sense
the
of
one
belonging.
Exactly, and you don't want to be the odd one out. But everybody is doing something. You know, it may be wrong, but it may be harmful, may be unhealthy, but everybody's doing that. So
basically they have no such knowledge about the drugs, symptoms, signs and the effects and the other things as well. The even critical signs, we can say. If you see the age of the drug addicts or the abuser who are the vulnerable, the age start is the 12 years, from 12 years to onward the lifetime, as I have seen in many cases, they are the 30 years who are involved in deeply drugs, chronically.
For 30
they are involved,
years.
yes.
Right.
If you see the age of the 12 years, starting from the 12 years,
12
they can
years,
very well
so
manage,
young.
yes, because the early age, because the early age, you can say the later childhood. Okay, basically, as Brigadier Sahab says, physical development, cognitive development, it is a very effective on the personality of the one person. The families try to ignore. They are, if they are busy, then they are working, they are even they are in their own life, so they don't ignore the child's. They don't know their requirements, their personality effects. That's why the person is going to involve in drugs.
Right. Okay. So, how do we counter the drug mafia? What's going on there?
Shabnam, let me give you a larger perspective, because this is our somehow our national psyche, that we tend to lay blame. Where to lay the blame? Is it the parents? Is it the teachers? Or it is the peer pressure, or what is it? Whenever we are confronted with a social problem, we tend to look for somebody to be blamed.
True.
Now, the problem lies somewhere else. You know, Goldman, he wrote this book in 1995, and the first idea of emotional intelligence came up in the 60s. It was somewhere around 62 or 65. Why it came up at that time? Societies are guided by their ideals. When the West and the Western leader, United States, said liberty, freedom, and pursuit of happiness, they were unable to lay boundaries to liberty. They have only started now to realize that there has to be boundaries to liberty. Then there has to be a boundary or a limit to freedom. And then pursuit of happiness is something very vast. You know,
it may mean different things to different people.
Something happiness means something to you. Something it may be different for me.
Absolutely.
Now, I'll come back to our strength. That is our religion. Islam gives you an overarching guidance, a complete guidance to pursuit of happiness. Now, the psychologists like Bertrand Russell, he wrote a very small book, very famous book, Pursuit of Happiness, and he tried to explain. But my research and my personal study tells me that none of these psychologists have actually been able to point out where the problem lies, because human psychology is so complex. It is only the Islam, our religion, which gives us the right guidance. Now, coming back, where the blame should lie. When nations, they set a direction for themselves, they establish values for themselves, then the nations and society should work to achieve those ends.
True.
We at the very, at the broad spectrum, as a nation, we have not been able to set the right direction for us. Quaid-e-Azam told us faith, unity, and discipline. Now, faith, unity, and discipline, this is something which we are striving, but we fail every time. What we need to do is, at the society level, to work and try to achieve these ideals. When we have established these things in our education system, in our governance models, in our every aspect of social life and cultural life, then we will be able to lay responsibilities on teachers, parents, and the society at large. So society, what I mean to say is, let's not put blames. Let's not expect everything from the government to come forward and tackle the problem. This is our biggest problem. We blame the government for economy. We blame the government for our poor health. We blame the economy for our water crisis. We blame the government for everything. Now, we would like to blame the government for the drug abuse also. The fact of the matter is that there are social factors. These children who are being bombarded by information explosion are being exposed to many sets of ideals. They are confused.
That's a
If
very
I
important word, confused.
No, but if I can
Yeah.
just talk to Brigadier Saab here regarding to the government to blame. There is someone to be blamed. And I say that we are not being able to implement our own policies. Right. We have good policies. We have good narcotic policies. We have narcotic policies in the education, very good narcotic policies we have not been able. Pakistan has 135 million below age of 30. And we are nowhere, and I talk to the students, to be seen in the Olympic chart. Our contingent, youth contingent, is equivalent of 10 countries in Europe, 10 countries in the Middle East if you want to choose. And we have not excelled in sports. We have a program that called Sports is the Answer that in fact even anti-narcotics collaborate with us when we commemorate the International Overdose Awareness Day every year. So it is imperative that we follow the policies. I mean, the schools have no area for physical education. Right. It is in the sports policy of 2005 that shows every school should have a minimum of 4 hours of education, physical education per week. Failing to do so, the education institution should be shut. This is very clear, is there. You go around, there is no, they are fooling around with the badminton thing. There is no proper competition. Right. You go and see the complex, sports complex here, it's empty. And any ordinary young guy wants to use this energy to play anything, you cannot.
That's a very important point. So, the channeling of the energy, especially at that vulnerable age, the channeling of that energy into something that is positive.
Absolutely correct. I fully agree with what Ms. Afridi has said. But you see, what I'm emphasizing is that social problems are societal problems. Those are societal responsibilities. We cannot fight the social problems by putting the blame on the government or leaving the government alone in it. For example, what she rightly pointed out, we made a policy, for example, we have anti-narcotics policy.
Yes.
Now, we leave it to the government to implement that policy. Yes, government has, we have laws, we have, judicial and enforcement institutions, and we like to enforce it. But don't forget, we are living in a democracy. You cannot shut a single school. That will be a big sin. To shut a single school because of the want of security or because of the want of certain ills. But yes, that is an objective which we would like to reach, where the nation, the society and the government are in sync to achieve a common goal. So that is where what we want to emphasize here is, may it be drugs, may it be common crimes in the society, may it be the terrorism. We fought terrorism when the society at large came together. Our national consensus was built, and for this we waited for 15 years.
So for a national consensus, we need to be, aggressive towards this, and we need to be assertive, and we need to hear about this all the time.
Right.
So not on the sort of the awareness days, so that we celebrate those on television, print media, wherever, and then we forget about it. So we need something. We need that current. That electric current to be there all the time.
So the government responsibility is to provide that leadership, provide the laws, provide the right kind of legislations, and provide the institutions to implement. But until and unless the society will come together, we will not be able to. So that is our problem with the drugs.
Right.
You see, the modern life, the point I was emphasizing, it came, this emotional intelligence came up, the idea came up at the height of Cold War. Why? In the West, there was this mad rush of development. Parents, teachers, everybody is busy in its own task. Children are being left alone. When they grow up, they are unable to perform or take up those roles which are being assigned to them. Then in 1995, by 1995, it was the end of Cold War, another era of progress in the world. And either new avenues, psychological avenues, there was information explosions, being set. the internet was taking root, so that is where this problem came. People were being locked from being larger social groups to smaller social groups, and now we have reached at a stage where in one house or even in one living room, everybody is living his own life.
Everyone is sitting together, but nobody's actually talking to each other.
Everybody is busy.
And it's like you're living in a bubble.
Okay, so here is this problem, the emotional intelligence, emotional quotient intelligence, and then blah, blah, these terms. Basically, what we are trying to do is that how to control your emotions, which are the product of so many factors onto you, and how to bring them back into that collective life.
Absolutely.
Now,
true.
this is a very, very important and difficult social question, and only a social scientist may be able to solve it. But what I'm saying and emphasizing that we have our religion, which provides us guidance all across, and we have the development in the modern political systems, democracy.
And as you know, you're saying about the religion is humanity based,
Okay.
and it is character building in essence.
All right.
So how much are we emphasizing on character building on ourselves,
Yes.
so that rather than we preach to our children, they can just see what's happening, what is the norm at home.
In fact, this is what is the latest research finding. They say if we tell the children not to do drugs, it doesn't make sense to them.
No.
It is only when you interact with them.
Exactly.
And
win their confidence.
You know, and we will discuss about drug prevention education. The whole emphasis of that is interactive education. You interact with the children. You make them understand and realize by making them think themselves that this is dangerous. This is dangerous. And your physical development, your cognitive development is an asset which will lead you to happiness. And do not seek artificial happiness by doing drugs. Do not be addicted to being high. You know, high is an addiction in itself. So that is where these new synthetic drugs have come up. That is where the ice, that is where so many, you know, there are 475 NPS, non-psychoactive substances, which these youngsters or young adults or even the adults are using. 475. And the industry is so innovative that every year about 70 to 80 new psychoactive substances come into market.
Okay.
Now the children even do not know that this energy drink or this candy which he or she is taking is actually taking her away from the original or the natural life.
Okay, so you know, if I ask this question, that a drug user, or you know, if somebody you know who has an addiction, what is the common denominator here? What actually is the one thing that they say that this is the reason that I was taking drugs?
Basically, drug is the psychological and the mental issue, mental disease we can say, and that's come on the personality disorder, personality traits which develop by the drugs. You can say personality issue leads to the drugs based on the drug dependency, which is a very, very, very chronic issue. If you do not handle your child's, your children's, with the personality, with the personality bonding interactions, that's why the person cannot come from that from this.
I think that's very interesting research as well. But before I share that research, I've got to discuss certain. We have got different status of society. We've got like elite classes, we got like higher middle classes, and then poor classes. When we just put your question for all these classes, all of them, they've got different issues and problems. For example, the poor classes, they've got their own problem, and the children, they succumb to this menace of drugs. Then got like higher middle, they've got their own classes.
Too, so many.
Basically, these are the denials.
Exactly. According to the research, yes, according to the research, children who are coming from high-income families, they are more vulnerable to it. This is American research. And it's like quite. Why? Because perhaps they do not have apparent goals. Their parents, they are moving toward this like individualistic approach that I've got to move forward, I've got to achieve something in my life. And as Brigadier Sahib has rightly said, that they do not have enough time to just carry on with this. So ultimately, I mean, when we just look at the different status, all of them, they have got their own issues and problem, and ultimately their children, they are just suffering. And when we just talk about these like poor classes, I was also watching while preparing this program certain videos on different channels. I came to know that people were just coming from poor families. No, their parents, when they were sitting with different rehab centers, I mean, when you just look at them, from their like sitting posture and the way they're just looking at the kid, they're helpless. They're telling you that, well, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with him. So then we got like second category where we have got this parenting, concept of parenting as well. For example, one is that where whatever father is saying, you are bound to follow it. You are not allowed to ask any question and all that. So they have got a lots of pent up emotion.
Yes,
which they're not going to release right now. True. So they are going to find obviously environment to release them somewhere else, and you never know how.
You're absolutely right, because in our society the build-up of respect for elders is very important, of course, but then we have to know that there are friends as well, so we have to have that dropping of the
but
barrier.
not only this aspect, sorry.
Actually, we are calculating the problem. When we keep on calculating the problem, we will be wasting the time.
Okay.
We should all come up with the solutions.
Yeah.
Because it's a national problem. It's not a one man, a single community. It's across the country. So we should have the national strategies, knowing and believing in our own capabilities, our own competencies. First of all, this drug menace is greater in magnitude than the national responses.
True.
For that very purpose, we should have look into the policy and the implementing partners and make a national strategic framework very soon without wasting time.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Agree.
The second is we are always calculating the problem. We calculated the problem in 2012 and now 2019. Okay, so every year, statistics should be on board.
Right.
For that purpose, the rehab centers, the law enforcements, the schools, the colleges, the hospital should have a system of drug information system.
Exactly, where you're sharing information.
Because we wait for the hope someone come and they will calculate our dead bodies. It is wrong.
Right.
It is instantly be established. A biometric system. I think it's very easy. We will calculate on the time, in the time, not on the time. Third is all the treatment system, all the treatment center, the private sector and the government sector will be in mainstream health system. Because in 2015, there is a directive from the Prime Minister, and bravely only anti-narcotics force responded that order and established three centers in Pakistan. Now we see, if we refer a patient to a government hospital, they are not capable to admit and treat.
They don't have the expertise.
Okay. In that directives, federal, provincial, tehsil and district headquarters should maintain 10 beds treatment facility.
Which is not enough.
If we admit 10 beds at a rate of 150 hospital, because hospital have the land, the infrastructure, the staff, each and everything, we will be treating 150,000 people per year
in the country.
On the other hand, right now we are having only 30,000 occupancy. We can accommodate only 30,000 per year, while the magnitude is 4.2 million.
Absolutely. So we're down
that's
to
why prevention is a
Very
is
important.
number one. Prevention awareness is number one to avoid all the consequences that we have.
So as we said, it's a multi-pronged strategy that we need.
The other thing,
Yeah.
But it's there in the policy.
as mentioned on the national anti-narcotics policy, not the Ministry of Narcotics, national narcotics policy. It's not a responsibility only anti-narcotics force. Anti-narcotics force, you see, they are only, I think, 3,600 for the whole menace, for the whole problem. While if you see in Turkey, in Ankara, the counter-narcotics personnel are 10,000. Okay. A car coming from Peshawar, do we have a system that the car is carrying drugs?
Right, exactly. And across the border as well.
Capacity with technology should be built.
Of course, geographically we are a
responsibility of government.
Absolutely.
And registering of the drug users is highly desired.
Right.
So, as it is a national problem and it affects our GDP,
it needs to be addressed on a war footing,
it is
actually.
health, socio-economic.
Exactly. So, what right now?
Next, I suggest, I recommend, as a citizen, that we never should sit for calculating how many bullets are fired,
right?
How many dead bodies are. No, everyone should come up with a solution. Solution is a
absolutely, and that exactly is the point of today's program, where we wanted, all you experts in your different fields and working actively towards, curbing this menace. That's why we wanted to share a discussion with you, share a platform with you, and I'm sure it's been so important for people who have been watching this program, who have either a loved one who has a problem, or somebody who is vulnerable, or somebody who themselves, or somebody who themselves, because you cannot say that I will never be in this situation. A person never knows. Something might be happening, whatever. You may be in a low in your life, and all of a sudden you realize you're addicted.
But Shabnam, this all start at teenage time. So I mean, the importance of concentrate on our youth. I mean, there is nothing, of course, that after 19, you know exactly what you want to do. 20, you're a fix on that, or you get out. But when you're in formation, when you're building up yourself, your character, I mean, your physique, I mean, the focus of the nation should be in the youth.
True.
Especially having so much. So implementing all our good laws. I mean, for instance, the Minister of Education, every textbook should have a page of narcotic. It's not there. Talking about drug awareness, it's not there. So I mean, it's when you talk about the anti-narcotic national policy, all the ministries are involved in that, each one in their own capacity.
They are equally stakeholders.
So it's exactly
absolutely.
the stakeholders.
You're
so
absolutely right.
I mean, we have to implement what is there.
Again, yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, we're reaching the end of the program, and it's been fantastic talking to all of you, and it's really an informative and insightful program. Just before we leave, a very quick message from all of you. Christina, please.
Oh, for the kids especially, I would like to request the parents that not everybody should be an engineer or a doctor. I mean, there are many other professions in the world that, I mean, makes the world goes round, and it makes each one choose their own talent instead to, put them into something that they should
let them
choose their profession. Let they have a responsibility on their future, at least on this part.
That's fantastic message. Brigadier.
Emotional intelligence and emotional management leading to the use of drugs and the problems of drugs is a societal problem. And let's not wait for the government or any one segment of the society, parent, teachers, or the society at large to come and help. There are more and more number of youth being involved into it. And it's a dangerous slide in which more and more people are going. Wherever you are, contribute, come forward. let's have a
Every
whole of
little
this.
bit helps.
Yeah. Let's have a whole of the society approach. Let's not leave the government alone.
Leave the blame game and do something practical.
Do something and come forward. Come forward.
Absolutely.
Come
and
forward.
every little bit helps. It's a contribution.
Also, do not forget that in the global world that we live in today, it causes more confusion on the young minds. They do not know what are their ideals. You know, it's the US ideals or the Chinese national ideals or the Islamic national ideals. Everything is amalgamated.
Right.
So it is the job of intellectuals of the society to set the direction for the nation.
Right.
So,
and as you said that's sort of information and material for our next program that we will definitely have on intellectualism and giving them the limelight.
Yes.
Give them that prime time. Why do we not see intellectuals on prime time television?
Yes.
Why are they not there representing our thoughts?
Yes.
Very, very good point there. Farman sir, please, a very short message from you.
I can only say that know your problem, then own your problem and solve your problem.
Fantastic. Absolutely true. Asif sir, you?
I'll say this will be my message to the parents that you are going to prepare this generation for the next, let's say, 30, 40 years. So please equip yourself to, develop insight how your children will be in the future, what are the skills, and this is going to be, emotional intelligence is going to be number one, which they've got to develop because we have got this era of technology, and according to this World Economic Forum, 2017, we will have more freelancers than people who have got the regular job. So we will have like more issues and problems. So we have got to revisit parenting so that we are going to properly prepare our kids for the future.
I like that word, revisit. Yeah. Dr.
Not
Sadia.
your problem, not my problem. Everyone has a problem.
Yes.
It's a big problem.
It's a
the
big
one
problem.
thing.
And
the second thing,
problem.
and the prevention should be. Prevention is very, very, very must.
Is the number one.
Yes, number one.
Absolutely.
And this it will be based on the workshops, seminars by schools, colleges and universities as well.
Absolutely. I'd like to say a big thank you to all of our guests. Thank you very much for taking out your valuable time and sitting down and talking to us on such an important issue. Thank you very much. Okay, and with that we come to the end of today's program, a really insightful and an in-depth discussion about something that we should take very, very seriously. Wherever you are, whatever you do, we can all make a contribution. So let's start making that contribution in our individual capacities. And until next week, and from today's discussion, we're thinking of having our next program on the pursuit of happiness, because this was brought up in the program, in our discussion. And remember, it's always good discussions that lead to future ideas and the shaping of one's personality and mind. So until next week, stay happy. Bye-bye.